All right, Houston Texans, an exciting time as the offseason's just been outstanding. Free agents have been great, trades and new uniforms. You got CJ Stroud, now the draft. And there's a last-minute draft twist that I want to share with you that's really interesting. There you see it, NFL draft in Detroit. We're Detroit Lions fans. We're covering the Texans just because they're kind of an underdog team that people just don't really pay much attention to outside of the Texans. But they are now, right? They are now, especially after last year and then this offseason. But here we go. We're looking at, and here's kind of the twist. So if the season started today, the Texans could throw out a starting lineup on offense and defense capable of winning more games than it loses. And that's really, it's like, man, you want to pause on that for a second. Like, don't forget that. Just Danielle Hunter, Joe Mixon, the things that were added, wide receiver. But in this article, we're looking at the second round talent at wide receiver and running back. So in this article, we're going to break down about how that's a sweet spot for running backs and wide receivers. And we're going to look historically at 2010 through 2019. And you look at second round running backs and wide receivers, and it's like, that's the money spot. So you're like, we're set at wide receiver. Yeah, this year, but like this would be, you got to find playmakers when you can find them. We'll look at wide receivers going in the second round, money spot. And you also look at the running back position. That's really what you need. So it's like, man, okay, we got check running back, check wide receiver. It's like, not so fast. This is a spot that you can absolutely grab somebody. So they look at, and I love looking at kind of the historical data because I'm always shocked at how hard it is to draft well. It's just, you pick a guy like, oh, dude, he was so sweet at Clemson or whatever. And then it's like, but it's hard. It's hard to just be good in the NFL. So there were 26 running backs taken in the second round in this 10-year stretch. Most of those guys have retired, so we feel pretty good about the numbers we're looking at. The highlight of the group would be Derrick Henry, as he will likely be a Hall of Famer. Joe Mixon might be in the second best running back from the second round in that decade, which is ironic. He's on the team. So you look at 26 players, 14 of them, so half of them, or no, that's total Pro Bowls. Sorry. That's a misleading stat. I'm like, dude, 14 of those players got Pro Bowls? That's half of them. 14 Pro Bowls mixed in. So you don't know who, one guy could have 5 Pro Bowls in there. So on the flip side, and it looks at the top 5 guys of the 26 are household names. Henry, Mixon, Le'Veon Bell, what's up? Bernard, Delvin Cook. So if you take a second round running back, it would appear that if you're able to believe these numbers, then you have a 1 in 5 chance of drafting a long-term productive starter at the position. Now, we know running back in general is just, it's not a longevity position. It's hard to have guys stay around. There's injuries. It's the most difficult to stay long-term position. So that number is shockingly good because quarterbacks in the first round is 1 out of 5. We did an article on this, or we did a video on this a couple of days ago. That 1 out of 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, because we talked about how hard it is to draft CJ Stroud. I mean, you look at right before him, the guy that goes to Carolina, Bryce Young. Yeah, we'll see. But it's a lot of Christian Ponders. It's a lot of those type of guys that just don't work. So it's 1 in 5 quarterbacks in the first round. So to get a running back 1 out of 5 in the second round that sticks around, you'll take it. Depending on your definition, you could include guys like Miles Sanders, Carlos Hyde, Eddie Lacy. And I would, because that's, so you're more like 1 out of 4 of these guys is a long-term starter, Pro Bowler-ish type of guy. So do the Texans go running back in the second round? You got guys like Blake Corum from Michigan that people love, but they also don't, because he's just got a lot of carries, but he's just built for it though. I mean, I would draft him in a second. I'm a Michigan fan. I'm biased, but okay, let's take a look. Wide receivers. Ironically, no position is more loaded on offense than wide receiver, with Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Noah Brown, Robert Woods. But they're all set to be free agents. So the 2025 receiving core would be Tank Dell and that's it. So is the wide receiver room set? You think it's set, but there's the twist. It's like, no, this is a position we actually should draft. I say the Texans should draft. So if you look at this, we'd look at, it appears that John Mechie, although selected in 2019, could end up as an example of someone we could label as a bust. So they're trying to give you an idea of, like, in the second round, you got A.J. Brown, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams type guys. Then you've got Michi, who's like, okay. So all that being said, it would appear that based on these numbers, and I kind of blitz through these numbers here real quick, but you can see you're going to get Pro Bowlers, you're going to get years as starter, total years as starter, so 3 years, and that's the average across the league just on any position. But final thoughts. Depending on this board, I would like to. Oh no, it would appear that based on the numbers, you are more likely to hit on a wide receiver than a running back. Now, we said there's more wide receivers on a team and on the field than a running back at a given time, so there's more numbers. But again, it's 1 out of 3 is going to hit at wide receiver versus 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 at running back. I'm not sure if that plays into thinking at all. It always depends on individual player's grade and how the team thinks he fits into their system. 100%. But wide receiver, look for that. It's crazy. That's the deepest position on the Texans team, but I think it's the position that they actually go for and draft. So depending on what's on the board, I would like to see one of these 2 possessions get chosen in the second round. Last year it showed you cannot have too many talented players at any position, and 2025 free agency looks a lot better if you have young, talented players ready to step into those slots. 100%. What the NFL is always going to be built, and you have to be good in the trenches. Everybody knows that. But at the same time, what we're learning is you got to have playmakers. The way the offense is, the way you can scheme up outside, the way you can design plays, get matchups, have somebody really expose the other team. And then when you have the quarterback on top of it all, then you really need a wide receiver, running back to just, like, let's take full advantage that we have a good quarterback. So again, get an offensive lineman, right? Like you need offensive linemen, defensive linemen all day long, and you can never go wrong with that. But you just really focus that second round. I would not be surprised if there's a kind of a surprising twist and they go wide receiver, because it is the most loaded room for the Texans, but it's an area that they need. So, hey, we're going live, second round of the NFL draft. We're going to go live on this channel. Make sure you join us. Because the Texans have 2 picks. It'll be a lot of fun. So we're going live, second round. Make sure you subscribe. A lot of videos coming up on the draft picks, undrafted free agents. Can't wait for it. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you on the next one.